So this guy can take your blood and your DNA and tell you when you're going to die. And he's right within a month.
Dana White was told he only has about 10 years left to live. What does this mean? Is this even possible to make these type of predictions? And how did this result in a big change to Dana White's health? We're going to break this down, as Dana White has been seen going on a few different podcasts talking about how he was put in touch with a biologist, and by following his protocols, he's been able to see massive improvements in his overall health. So what does this actually mean? We're going to watch some context, and then I'll break it down for you.
You like it? You like?
I do. Yeah.
It's my favorite shoe.
You're wearing the blue.
I have every one of them.
You
I have them all. Yeah.
Yeah.
You walked in here, first thing I know, and I've been noticing it the last few weeks at Contender Series. You're looking lean, man. What is going on here?
Thanks. So there's this. You know Carrie Kasem, right?
Yep.
Remember Casey Kasem, top
Sure,
40?
of course.
So she's been a good friend of mine for like 25 years. She hit me up, I don't know, before the summer and was like, you're one of my best friends. You've been such a good friend to me, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing I could ever do for you, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to introduce you to this guy named Gary Brecka. He 10X Health Systems is the name of his company. And he's a human biologist, and he's a mortality expert.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy can take your blood and your DNA and tell you when you're going to die. And he's right within a month.
Whoa. You're killing me right now.
Okay, so that's a pretty bold claim to say you could take someone's DNA and figure out when they're going to die within a month. So basically what happens here is you could do something like a cheek swab. There's these testing kits, and basically DNA, there's a couple different thoughts as to how aging takes place. There's the belief that telomeres, which are strands at the end of DNA, and they happen to shorten over time, are what get broken down, and eventually the more that those are broken down, essentially the older your biological age is. There's now some conflicting data into that exactly, but essentially there's also epigenetic factors at play that can help determine your biological age, such as how methylated the DNA actually is. And essentially what these kits do is they can see how much your DNA is methylated, as well as other factors, and then kind of figure out and give you like a biological age score. And so if you can figure out what your biological age score is, then you can deduce potentially with other factors how long you're going to live for, assuming nothing else happens, like a catastrophe, you get hit by a bus, something like that. So that is essentially what these kits do. Is there literature showing that they can be as accurate within a month? Probably not. I would be a little bit skeptical of that claim. With that said, it seemed like in this case, it was the motivation that Dana White needed to really get his health in order, lose weight, do a couple of these other protocols, which we'll get into in just a bit. And so if it overall helped him and gave him the wake-up call to get better, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but I do think it's a little bit misleading to say like, oh, they can definitely assess how long left you have to live, because we just definitely do not have the science right now to do so like that.
That's crazy.
So I was fucking
I would be scared to do that.
Obsessed. I had to know.
Really?
Yeah. So
so he actually gave you a timeline?
Yeah. So he's down in Miami. You know Grant Cardone?
Not personally, but sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He started.
I saw those guys in the fight a few weeks ago.
He bought his company.
Okay.
Grant Cardone owns the company, and he's a partner with Gary Brecka. So
Yep.
I become fucking obsessed with finding out, the month I'm going to die. So we're down there for my son's 21st birthday party in Miami, and I connect with this guy, and they come in and they do my blood work, and they scrape the insides of your cheeks to do your DNA, and I'm gonna find out. So it's like it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're down there. The following Wednesday is when my results are supposed to be back. So he calls me. All I'm talking about is finding out this date. And he says, I'm going to come out personally and walk you through your blood work. And I'm like, motherfucker. I wanted to know today when this was going to happen.
I don't need a cliffhanger for this.
So to be fair, it is sometimes overwhelming if a patient gets a lot of data, all these different lab numbers, they don't actually know what it means, and they start to get very stressed out if they're trying to interpret it by themselves. So while there's a lot of benefits of like a lot of patients now can see their electronic health records and see as labs get updated, they don't have the clinical understanding always to interpret those results. So sometimes, there'll be a number that it says like, it gets marked as high, but it's just outside of the normal range. And usually maybe for whatever that marker might be, it's not that big a deal. But now you're freaked out because it says high in your blood work, where a doctor might look at that and be like, that's not a big deal. However, there's other markers where same situation, you might be only like 0.1 or 0.2 above a limit, but that is now the marker for diabetes or something like that. That hits the cutoff. So it depends on what lab values you're looking at, and you have to have clinical context to understand and interpret that data. So it's not always a bad idea to, if you get blood work done, have someone who could actually review it with you, who knows what they're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he ends up coming out. He sits down for 3.5 hours and goes through my blood work. And I'm all fucked up. So my triglycerides are like 764.
What should they be?
They should be down in the, like, between 80 and 150.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And everything else that could possibly be bad is bad. He gave me 10.4 years to live.
Stop.
Yeah.
This was this year?
This was 16 weeks ago. And he says, if you don't change these things that you're going to do, this is your life expectancy right now. So he said, if you do what I tell you to do, first of all, the thing that freaked me out the most was he did my blood work. I didn't tell this guy jack shit about me, my medical history, what was going on with me personally. He told me everything that was wrong with me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
To the like shit that I didn't even tell my wife. Told me what was wrong with me. Told me everything that was wrong with me from my blood work. So he says, if you do.
So we'll see what he says in just a second, but blood work can definitely tell you a lot. These lab values, hemoglobin A1C, what your triglycerides are, what your LDL is, your HDL, your testosterone, things like that. It can tell you a lot, but blood work a lot of times is also just a snapshot in time. So for example, a testosterone level is going to be different if you take it in the morning when you're supposed to versus if you take that level at night. There are markers, however, for example, hemoglobin A1C is going to be about a 3-month snapshot of what your glucose levels have been, and that's why it's used as a marker for diagnosing diabetes. Because if you just took a random glucose level, well, it might depend. Are you fasted? Did you just eat? Things like that. And so that's not going to be a good marker, but your hemoglobin A1C is going to be essentially an average of what your overall blood glucose levels have been, how much glycosylated hemoglobin you have, and so that's not necessarily going to be as much of a snapshot in one moment of time. So you can definitely know a lot. Again, I always like to caveat everything with, can you really say exactly what a person has based on just one marker alone in isolation? Not always. Depends on what the marker is.
What you to do for the next 10 weeks. I promise you I'll change your whole life. So I'm one of these people that when I set my mind to do something, I absolutely do it. So
All in.
I did everything he said to the letter. I lost 30 pounds. My legs were...
So that alone is going to make a significant difference, no matter whatever other protocols he's going to be on, and I assume because this is more in the regenerative, preventative medicine, the biohacking world, where there are some good things and there are other things that are more pseudoscience-y. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not going to go into speculation. It depends on what he says he did here. But just losing weight is one of the best things that you can do. If you had 30 pounds to lose and you lose 30 pounds of weight, so many things in your life is going to improve. You're going to be less likely to have diabetes, cardiovascular disease, even cancer. You're going to be less likely to have high blood pressure. I mean, just so many things. You're going to feel better. There's going to be less pressure on your joints. So that alone, not sure how he went about losing that weight, but losing 30 pounds is going to make a significant impact on your health.
So fucked up 13 weeks ago, I couldn't tie my shoes. I couldn't bend over to tie my shoes because my legs were fucked up. I could barely walk some days. Sleep apnea, snoring. I had these doctors that I went to for 10 years asking them what's wrong with my legs. They couldn't fucking tell me. I was told them I was having problems with sleep apnea and snoring. They sent me to one of those sleep studies where you go sleep for 4 fucking hours, and then they give you a CPAP machine that a 400-pound fucking guy uses. You know what I mean?
I have it. Yeah,
I sleep with it for 20 minutes and rip it off my face and throw it on the floor. No more sleep apnea. I don't snore anymore.
So to be fair, some people really need the CPAP, which if you have sleep apnea can really make a big difference and really help that overall condition, because essentially when you have sleep apnea, you are not breathing at certain intervals throughout the night, and sometimes in many, many intervals. So one of the main things, and I imagine his doctors have told him this before, but maybe it didn't click as much, or I'd hope they did, is one of the things that you can do to improve sleep apnea is to lose weight. So that 30-pound weight loss, I imagine, improved his sleep apnea significantly. I'm not sure if he's alluding to there were other things that he did to improve that sleep apnea.
More,
dude.
Everything is gone in 10 fucking weeks. Wow. I've been working with doctors for 10 years.
30 pounds is a lot to lose in 10 weeks, or I guess he said 16 weeks is how long before, so I'm not sure if it was 10 or 16. Either way, 30 pounds is a lot, but it's definitely doable. It's better to lose weight slowly if you can, but clearly you can see Dana White looks much, much better, a lot leaner. I think they show a picture later where he basically has a six-pack, and he looks great, so kudos to him.
Do it. So I fucking, everybody's saying stuff to me, and I haven't really said anything publicly, but the Fertittas, I got the Fertittas on the program. They're both doing it now, and all my friends are doing it. This guy's incredible. He's amazing.
Really?
Yeah. And this guy can come in and literally change your life. He can battle. He works with people who have depression. He doesn't believe in any of this depression medicine and anxiety. Mm-hmm. He thinks it fucks you up even worse.
Yeah.
He's helped people with anxiety, depression, tons of different things. This guy's a genius, man.
Sounds like I'm the poster child,
right?
With the depression, the sleep apnea.
I'm telling you,
I'm sleep apnea. I'm snoring. Vanessa wakes me up every fucking night.
I don't snore anymore.
Really?
I was snoring so bad, and I would.
Do you ever wake yourself up?
No, I was waking up and couldn't breathe.
Oh,
like I'd
me
wake
too.
up
Like
gasping for air.
Yep.
It got so bad that I got to a point where I was throwing up every night because I was snoring so bad. And then I was throwing up so much that I was starting to lose my voice.
Dude, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, sleep apnea can be really bad.
I am right there with you.
Gone.
Really?
I don't even fucking... My wife used to have to sleep with earplugs. She doesn't have to sleep with earplugs anymore. I don't even snore. I don't make a peep.
And what's the diet like?
I'm on keto. I'm on the keto diet. And basically, people talk shit about the keto diet. Like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. This is what Gary Brecka told me, and think about this. This is true. There are essential fats that your body needs or you'll die.
Sure. There's
essential amino acids that your body needs or you will die. There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. It's not true. It doesn't exist. You don't need fucking carbohydrates. You don't. And you can listen to Gary Brecka, 10X Health Systems. You can listen to...
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't eat carbohydrates at all. I think America and even the whole world, a lot of diets are a little bit too high in carbohydrates for sure, and balance is definitely very important. He's clearly going a very high protein route, which what ends up happening with high protein is you are going to be more satiated easily. So a lot of times you end up eating less calories because protein is the most satiating macronutrient. And so what happens is you eat in a calorie deficit, even if you don't realize it, because you could be having like these big protein meals, but you're having absolutely no carbs. You're not as hungry. You're eating in a calorie deficit, and that helps you lose the weight. And the weight loss has a lot of amazing benefits. So it's not necessarily bad to have carbohydrates. I mean, most people I feel like should probably be limiting the amount because most people consume just way too many carbs overall. I mean, I know for me personally, it's easier when I have high protein diet to build muscle and to lose fat. But if you want to get good lifts in the gym, or you're going for a long marathon run, if you're like a marathon runner, or you're doing any type of endurance, or just in general, you will not feel as well always if you have absolutely no carbohydrates in your diet. Think about it. There's also carbohydrates in vegetables, in fruits, and these things, there's a whole camp that's like that. Those aren't necessary. They're not good for you. I'd say right now with the research we have, it's important to eat fruits and vegetables overall and have an overall balanced diet. But I think going higher protein, you do see a lot of benefits and ultimately end up cutting a good amount of weight just because you're more satiated, you're eating less. And if it's something that is sustainable for you, then overall it's a good diet. diet for you. As long as you are cutting the weight and it's sustainable and you're enjoying it, then if keto works for you, I'm not saying don't do keto, definitely not. I think that nutrition research is one of the more limited areas actually that we have in regards to research, and also people are so dogmatic and think it can only be this way or can only be that way, and that's just not the case at all.
Rogan, any of these guys that that he has on his podcast and they've studied, I have never felt better. And you ask any of the people that are around me, my memory, my brain is so fucking clear now. My memory is so much better than it was 10 weeks ago. There's just so many things in my life I could tell you that have changed. I feel like I'm 35 years old again.
Really?
I swear to God, I feel like I'm 35
and
again.
10 weeks is nothing.
Nothing.
That's nothing.
It's not like you got to do this for 8 months.
Right.
And if this is how I feel in 10 weeks, how the fuck am I going to feel in 6 months?
Right.
I'm in. I'm sold on this thing, man. It's incredible.
So he doesn't go into all the specifics of what he's doing. It sounds like he's doing a keto diet. I imagine that, and this is pure speculation, and you can't make a diagnosis off the internet, but he is on, whether he was on it before or now, some sort of testosterone replacement therapy, as he is in his mid-50s, and as you age, your natural testosterone levels definitely decline. And I know a lot of people in his scene definitely use TRT. There's definitely many benefits to it. That's maybe something we'll cover in a different video, but I imagine he's on TRT. He lost a lot of weight. He's on this keto diet. Whatever he's doing, he's able to stick with it, and he seems enthusiastic about it. So overall, it seems like it's a good plan for him. And I think one of the other things is he was very motivated because he was given this number of 10 years to live. Whether or not that was actually the case, there's smokers that live into their 90s. Now, not saying on average that if you smoke, you're going to live into your 90s, because you're more likely to absolutely not. You shouldn't smoke if you want to improve your overall health. But that's just a point I'm making overall. So in conclusion, can you predict if you're actually going to die in 10 years? Probably not. Are there tests that can help you figure out your overall biological health? Yes, and there is more research going into that field. It's not a fully fleshed out field just yet, but it is very exciting, something I'm interested in. I'm not sure which specific test he took, but if it gave him the motivation to make these healthy lifestyle changes, then all the power to Dana White. He looks absolutely great. I'm a huge fan of the UFC and happy to have Dana White continuing to be a main part of the UFC for many years to come. So kudos to you. Hope this was an interesting video, and I'll see you in the next one.